I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Village Board for October 11th, 2022. Can you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Village Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President DeSimone,
Here.
Trustee Franz,
Here.
Trustee Fry,
Here.
Trustee Lomax,
Here.
Trustee Penicola.
Here.
That's 5.
At this time, I would like to call up and read off a proclamation for breast cancer awareness. As you all can see, the board as well as staff is wearing pink in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas the Village Board, the Village of Bentonville is committed to raising awareness about breast cancer and the impact it has on our loved ones, friends, colleagues, and community members. And whereas thousands of women and men in our country take on the fight against breast cancer each year, and whereas screening and early detection can make a tremendous difference in overcoming breast cancer. And now, therefore, I, Village President Frank DeSimone, together with the Board of Trustees, do officially acknowledge the importance of raising awareness of breast cancer in our community as we work to support survivors, those currently battling breast cancer, and those who might detect it in its early stages, and that we recognize October 2022 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the Village of Bentonville, presented this day, October 11th, 2022. We want to take a quick picture? We just want to take a quick picture of everybody? Everybody? Come on.
Everybody?
Watch, you can get in it. No, I was going to take a picture. We got everybody? Thank you.
Blinding me. Used to, but thank you. If I do, I'll promise.
At this time, we also, Corey, we're gonna move up the proclamation, recognizing October I'm sorry, where are we at? The code compliance, recognizing October 2022 as Code Compliance Month in the Village of Bentonville.
Proclamation, National Code Compliance Month. Whereas code enforcement officers provide for the safety and welfare of citizens throughout the United States through the enforcement of local codes or ordinances facing various issues of building, zoning, housing, animal control, environmental health, and life safety. And whereas code enforcement officers often have a challenging and demanding role and often do not receive recognition for the job that they do in improving living and working conditions for residents and businesses of local communities. And whereas code enforcement officers are dedicated and high qualified professionals who share the goals of preventing neighborhood deterioration, enhancing and ensuing safety, and preserving property values through knowledge and application of housing, zoning, and nuisance codes and ordinances. And whereas code enforcement officers often have a highly visible role in the communities they serve and regularly interact with a variety of state officials, county officials, first responders, legislative boards, commissioners, agencies, and bodies. And whereas code enforcement officers are called upon to provide quality customer service and excellence to residents and businesses of the communities in which they serve. And whereas National Code Compliance Month is sponsored by the American Association of Code Enforcement to recognize and honor code enforcement officers and professionals all across the United States and bring awareness to the importance of code enforcement to the communities of the United States. Now therefore, Frank DeSimone, Village President of the Village of Bentonville in DuPage and Cook Counties, Illinois, does hereby proclaim the month of October 2022 as National Code Compliance Month. Accordingly, he encourages our citizens to join us in recognizing and expressing their appreciation for the dedication and service by individuals who serve as our code enforcement officers.
I'd like to recognize Chief Halverson is going to join us for this award. Our code enforcement and fire marshal and NFPA standards go hand in hand. It's a little unique relationship we have here, but it works very well, I think. Obviously, code enforcement is a huge life safety thing, so we try to prevent those fires when those fires do happen. Our firefighter professionals are here to help. So if we could recognize and come up for a picture. What? Sure. I think it's ours. It's actually good for our code enforcement guys. Our code enforcement professionals.
Oh, they should have got one too.
No, they don't do the code enforcement. We just support them.
Okay,
Fire.
at this time, we will move to public comment. Does anyone wish to address the board? If so, please approach the podium and state your name.
No, I didn't get any.
This will conclude public comment. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the September 20th, 2022 special village board meeting?
Need
So-
a motion?
Do I have a second?
Second?
Are there any modifications to those minutes? Please call the roll.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries and the minutes are approved. The next item of business is to approve the warrant in the amount of $1,560,728.65. Is there a motion to approve the warrant?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussions on this warrant? Please call the roll.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries, warrant is approved. There are no items on the consent agenda. Under administration, a resolution granting the authority and directing the village manager to accept electricity pricing in order to execute an electricity purchase agreement on certain village electric accounts. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
You have a motion?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Being a motion, a second discussion?
Yeah, I'll take this one, Your Honor. So this is a little bit different procurement process than we normally do. Typically, when we're going out to buy something, we issue a bid, we have people respond to that bid, and then we execute the lowest, most qualified bidder. Tonight, we're buying electricity for the next up to 4 years. Because electricity prices are changing so rapidly, what we're doing tonight is you're granting me authority to execute those contracts when we can lock in a price that fits the Village of Bensenville. The Village of Bensenville consumes a lot of electricity. Our ice rinks alone can easily spend $40,000 a month in electricity to keep our ice rinks cold. So it's important that we lock in those prices. If you haven't noticed, energy markets, because of a couple certain events in the globe, have gone haywire. So we're trying to time out when we can lock in a rate and get some predictability. We know electricity is going up about 20% in our budget. That's what we're budgeting. This allows that rate to be locked in so we don't have any unusual spikes. In the event that electricity rates drop, we can always, what's called a blend and extend our contract at a lower rate. So tonight we're just seeking authority for me to execute that contract and purchase electricity for the foreseeable future.
Does the board have any questions on this? Please call the roll.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries and the resolution is approved. Under finance, resolution adopting the Village of Bensenville's fund balance and reserve policy. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
You have a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Being a motion and a second, Julie, you're gonna take this one?
Sure, thank you. The village manager had asked that I review the fund balance and reserve policy. There are multiple changes in it. Most of them are insignificant, but there's 2 significant changes in the policy we want to review with you. One is the last policy had a 25% minimum reserve that was there for emergencies. Having just gone through the COVID emergency lately and seeing some revenues drop 25%, some 15%, we weathered the storm pretty well, but we also realized that if this had gone on for multiple years, it would have become a little wearing. So we are suggesting that we change that minimum from a 25% of annual expenses to between 30 and 40%. It's kind of a roaming amount that will peak at the 40% level, and we feel that should cover us for a pretty long time. The second change has to do with what we do with money when we're collecting up money in the general fund that comes from a surplus of revenue over expenditures. And particularly in last year, we had braced ourselves for another year of COVID, and we ended up with a $5 million surplus in revenue. What we don't want to do is allow that money to be not used and just sit there. It doesn't do the residents any good sitting there. So we are prescribing a policy where we will come to the board and we will suggest where that money should be spent by a certain set of rules. So the first one, Corey, if you can go to. The first thing that we would do with a surplus from a prior year, well, first of all, let me say, I'm kind of speaking to the next one as well, because the next agenda item is going to actually adopt this for the 2021 surplus. So I'm kind of speaking actual numbers to what the next item will say. So the first here is if we had in 2022 a deficit for any reason because we had an emergency existing, we would fund that first with the surplus from the prior year, which only makes sense that we take care of ourselves today. We had no deficit programmed for 2022, so that does not apply to the agenda item that will come next. Second tier, we want to enhance or keep that emergency fund at the 40% level. Since we're first now prescribing the higher level, what we would do is take 25% of the surplus, which was $5.4 million last year, and put it into the emergency fund until such time as we reach that 40% level. And then we will no longer fund this tier or suggest to fund this tier in our resolution. All right, Corey. The next tier is we want to make a movement on our police pension funds. The police pension fund carries with it a 7% charge for our unfunded liability, which is very expensive given that our liabilities are somewhere between $20 and $24 million that are unfunded liability. So what we want to do is start a program where we start bringing that down. It'll help our cash requirements in future years, and it will save us the 7% interest. So what we're doing here is we're taking 34% of the remaining surplus balance, and we're suggesting that $1.4 million go in a payment against the pension fund immediately. Tier 4 is we want to start looking at our other debt, and we want to pay it down early if we can. So step 4 is to take 50% of the remaining balance and apply it to our debt sinking fund and look for opportunities to either call bonds or take out a whole issue or anything we can do, or just keep the money there for those large bulk payments that are there at the end. Again, we will be saving ourselves interest money, so this will be a compounding benefit to us to take this debt out early. Finally, the last tier is the remaining balance of what the surplus would be is going to go into the capital improvement fund for storm sewer improvements. We currently do not have a funding source for storm sewers. We have chosen not to try to charge people the way that other villages charge them, but we have some rather large projects coming up that are going to be pretty significant in our area, taking away some of the flooding areas. So we made it that will go to the CIP fund. It will be used exclusively for stormwater. If we don't program it after 3 years, it'll go to other CIP improvements.
I just want to say, Julie, thank you for your hard work on this. We've been working on this for about a year now. I think what this does is it really encapsulates the village board's desires that we keep hearing from you, putting it into a policy, and we can actually start making headway on longstanding issues. This is only possible when we have a budget surplus, and we've been running a budget surplus because of the hard work that this board and staff has done, keeping things coming in under budget while fully maintaining our city services. So what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to prevent deficit spending, build our rainy day fund, pay down our police pension obligations, pay down our debt, and finally identify a funding source for stormwater. Those are all huge things. And it's not often that I get excited over financial policies because they're pretty boring usually, but this is something that keeps our village focused on paying down the things that are important to us and being good stewards of our residents' money. So I think it's something we can all be proud of. Julie, I think I'm very proud of it. Thanks for all hard work on it. And once it starts working, like Julie said, this is going to start compounding on itself. As we save money, we pay down debt, and those costs start falling off, we get more money to be able to apply to the things that matter. We didn't create the police pension funding problem. That was done generations ago. We're finally, instead of just treading water, we're going to pay it down. That's impressive. We didn't issue giant debt for carry on the village books, but we're going to start pre-funding that. And I think what's going to happen is the credit rating agencies and our debt holders are going to look at us and say, this village is a financial steward of money, and we're going to see credit upgrades, which then reduces further borrowing costs. And it just really starts compounding and snowballing. So in one way, this is a waterfall on the deficit, and another way, it's going to be a snowball in the growth of our revenue. So I think it's a great policy. I'm really excited to start working on it. The next agenda item, we actually will implement this policy. So we adopt it to here. The next agenda item, we'll do our first waterfall. Any questions?
Nice work, everybody.
Yeah,
Any
thank
questions
you.
from the board?
Thanks, Julie.
Thank
for
you
your
so
work.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
We have to pass it.
I know, hold on. I'm trying to find out where we're at right now. So we're at the, I lost my spot. So we're, yeah, so please call the roll.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries and resolution is approved. 2 is the ordinance adopting Amendment 2 to the annual budget for the Village of Bensonville for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022. Is there a motion?
So
A
moved.
motion?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Being a motion and a second, we just discussed it. Do we have any more discussion?
We know the amounts that were shown on that previous screen are the amounts that will be start working their way through to make these amendments.
Okay.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries and ordinance is passed. 3 is an ordinance abating the tax heretofore levied for the year 2022 to pay debt service on general obligation bonds, alternative revenue sources of the Village of Bensonville, counties of Cook and DuPage, Illinois. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
You have a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
There being a motion and a second, is any discussion?
This is our annual debt abatement ordinance. This is a good ordinance to pass. What we're doing here is basically telling our residents that we do not have to go to them for new taxes to pay down the debts that the village carries, but we can use our alternate revenues that we previously stated. If you guys have been here for a while, you remember we used to have a dozen of these ordinances. I want to hat tip to Corey for consolidating those into one. So this is a good one for us. This is us paying our bills on time with money that we don't have to go to our residents for.
Any questions from the board? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries and ordinance is passed. Julie, really quick, I want to thank you personally because when we took office like 5 years ago, that was way out of whack and it was my goal to knock it down. And I think in 5 years, we're pretty close to half of it knocked down. So now I expect this other half to be knocked down quite quickly. So thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate that. Thank you. We do not have a police department report. Public Works is a resolution authorizing the execution of a purchase order with Cummins Incorporated for the purchase of 2 500-kilowatt generators and associated day tank for the wastewater treatment plant in the not-to-exceed amount of $177,260. Is there a motion to approve this
You have a
resolution?
motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Being a motion and a second. Vince, you want to jump in for discussion?
Yes. These 2 500 kilowatt generators from Cummins that we're recommending to be approved by are after one of our generators failed at the wastewater treatment plant. This was a generator that was from 1975 that had failed. Staff contracted immediately with Charles Equipment for an emergency backup, which we currently have in place. And immediately after the failure, staff engaged with Strand Engineering and to get the recommendation for the sizing needs of this generator. Strand yielded that 2 500 kilowatt generators will suffice to meet the treatment plant's needs at full capacity in a storm event. We, as staff, reached out to multiple generator manufacturers and resellers, and some of the points that we touched on were the cost, availability, manufacturer, size, configuration, and warranty needs. And staff taking that into consideration, the supply chain issues that are at hand right now, Cummins had a 40-week lead time, which was unique, that met our needs. The only other one that really met that lead time with the generators that we were looking for were Caterpillar, but Caterpillar had a 60-week lead time. The unit cost to the village by going through Cummins is $80,075 per unit, and Caterpillar's cost to the village would have been $106,000 per unit. The second component to the proposal is that the fuel tank, the day fuel tanks that are currently on the generators, the existing tank is shared by the generators and the above-ground fuel tank that we have out at the Public Works facility. The existing tank does not meet the safety necessities for today, and we would like to also include that in the cost is to replace that fuel tank, and that is an additional cost of $17,110 with a lead time of 12 to 16 weeks. This proposal is just for the cost of the generators and the equipment. There are additional fees that would come along with this. The cost of the generators, of the existing generator disposal, is about $25,000. And then the electrical and mechanical contractors to come in and install this, we're looking at another $60,000 to $75,000 in the future. And then the current rental at place, due to the 60-week lead time, we're looking at about a $72,000 rental fee. So the total cost for this entire project is approximately $350,000.
So just so everyone, this is one of those things that villages have to have. We hope we don't have to use. We don't think about it often, but if we did lose power and our generators didn't work, we would immediately have some wastewater problems throughout the village. These generators were purchased back in 1975. I think it's a testament to Public Works for maintaining these for 47 years. It's time to replace them. Just to get your bearings, these are not generators like you and I pull out of our garage when the power goes out. These are the size of a semi-truck, each of them. They're gigantic, they're huge, they're loud, but they power an entire wastewater plant. So it is a big expense, and it's, I want to hand it, Public Works did a great job getting quotes. It's a wild world out there with supply chains. We're dealing with brokers who are, they can get them quicker. We don't know how they're getting them quicker. Questionable warranties. I think going straight to the manufacturer, getting the 5-year warranty, it's the best use of the village's funds.
So we are currently renting one now, so there's no need to worry. There's no.
Correct. We've got one rented. It's expensive
online.
to rent one of these. How much is it a month?
It's $5,000, the current fee for it is $5,520 a month.
Right.
to
Now,
rent it.
again, we got it before there was a hurricane in Florida, so huge generators are in high demand. We've got ours secured right now. But the quicker we can get this replaced, then the quicker we can get back to normal.
Now, will we have a problem with getting this now that generators in Florida are on high demand, or are we pretty much squared away?
As of right now, it does not appear to be an issue. We should be able to secure one as far as staff has talked with the manufacturer.
Right, so this will, the way things are right now, we're put in the order, they'll start making it. So the generator we're about to purchase doesn't even exist right now.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board? Please call the roll.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Number 2 is a resolution authorizing the execution of a purchase order with Charles Equipment Incorporated for the rental of an emergency backup generator for wastewater treatment plant in the not to exceed amount of $72,000. Is there a motion to approve?
You have a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
There being a motion and a second, I believe we just discussed it. Anything else, Vince, on that?
No, just as discussed before, immediately after we had went online, we came offline and the generator failed, we reached out to multiple vendors after realizing the lead time on this to make sure that the pricing was right. No one was able to meet the pricing of Charles Equipment, so our recommendation is for approval.
Any questions from the board? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries and the resolution is approved. No recreation report, presidential remarks. We have a proclamation declaring October 14th, 2022 Arbor Day in the Village of Bensonville. Corey, would you like to read that?
Village of Bensonville Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heat and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, cool the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide a habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our village increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the village will host an Arbor Day tree dedication ceremony on Friday, October 14th, 2022 at 11 a.m. at Bocce Courts at Redmond Recreation Complex. Now, therefore, Frank D. Simone, Village President, and the Board of Trustees does hereby proclaim October 14th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the Village of Bensenville and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, encourages all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations within our community. Dated this 11th day of October 2022.
Thank you. One more proclamation recognizing the month of October 2022 for Arts DuPage.
Arts DuPage, a DuPage Foundation initiative. Whereas Arts DuPage has regularly issued official proclamations to all cities and villages in DuPage County on an annual basis, dedicating October as Arts DuPage Month. And whereas the arts embody much of the accumulated wisdom, intellect, and imagination of humankind. And whereas the arts enrich us as individuals to play a unique role in our lives, of our families, and our communities. And whereas the arts promote a better understanding of the diversified culture within our communities to unify us regardless of age, race, and necessity. And whereas the arts sector in DuPage County consists of 2,272 arts-related businesses and accounts for 4.2% of total number of businesses in the region, a larger share of the economy than transportation, tourism, and construction. And whereas the arts provided full-time employment to over 15,000 workers in DuPage County. And whereas the arts improve our economy, enrich our civic life, drive tourism and commerce, and exert of a profound positive influence on the education of our children. And whereas the arts helped lead us through the darkest times of the pandemic by lifting our spirits, unifying communities, and providing entertainment. Now the arts are playing a vital role in rebuilding our communities, jumpstarting the economy, and leading us back to normalcy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Frank D. Simone does hereby proclaim October 2022 as Arts DuPage Month in the Village of Bensenville and call upon our community members to celebrate and promote arts in DuPage County. Proclaim this 11th day of October 2022.
Thank you, Corey. One more announcement. On September 28th, I was in Washington, D.C. to join area mayors from the Coalition to Stop CPKC. We testified before the Surface Transportation Board and were able to present our concerns with the merger between the Canadian Pacific Railroad and Kansas City Southern. Specifically, this merger threatens to increase the number of freight trains on the Milwaukee District West Line by over 400% and can severely impact response time for our police, our fire, and our emergency medical first responders. During my trip to DC, I was able to schedule some time personally and meet with Congressman Mike Quigley. Congressman Quigley recognizes the burden this merger presents and how it could fundamentally change our entire community. Through my lobbying efforts, we were able to gain Congressman Quigley's support for the coalition efforts to extract mitigations that will hopefully lessen the negative impact on our community. Residents are encouraged to voice their own concerns to the Surface Transportation Board by visiting stb.gov and submitting their public comment. Comments are due by this Friday, October 14th. That will conclude President's remarks. Village Manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, it's a very important initiative. The Stop CPKCS. I know Chief has been, Chief Halverson and Chief Schultz have been involved in providing public testimony on the public safety side too. So thank you for that. Few things. We've got Halloween trick-or-treating hours are 3 to 8 p.m. on Halloween. We're not one of those municipalities that tries to move the day Halloween is on October 31st, and we will observe it as such. If you do not want to participate, we understand some residents do not choose to participate in Halloween. We've mailed out signs that you can post on your door and all the water bills. If you do not receive a water bill, do not misplaced it, those signs are available here at Village Hall to politely let children know that you're not participating in trick-or-treating, saving them much valuable time to go get candy elsewhere. The 2023 vehicle stickers are on sale now. Must be registered by January 1, 2023. More details on the village website. And as Corey mentioned in the proclamation, we invite all of our residents to an Arbor Day tree planting at the Bocce Courts on October 14th at 11 a.m. So that's this Friday at 11 a.m. Come join us to plant a tree ceremonially. I think the tree's actually already been planted by our public works staff, so it'll be more of a ceremony than an actual tree planting event. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Village Attorney report.
I have no report, Mr. President.
Is there any unfinished business to come before the board tonight? Is there any new business to come before the board tonight? I understand there is a need for executive session to discuss the employment, compensation, discipline, or performance of an employee under 5 ILCS 120/2C1. So is there a motion to enter into an executive session to discuss this matter?
You have a motion?
Do I have a second on the motion? Please call the roll.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries and the board will enter into executive session. I would also like to advise the public that no final action will be taken when the board returns from executive session. We now return from executive session. Village Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President DeSimone?
Here.
Trustee Franz?
Here.
Trustee Fry?
Here.
Trustee Lomax?
Here.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Here.
That's 5. It's 5.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Trustee Franz?
Yes.
Trustee Fry?
Yes.
Trustee Lomax?
Yes.
Trustee Pena Cola?
Yes.
That's 4.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.